Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. All right, Bridget, are you going to speak to the first public hearing?
I am, Mayor. Thank you. As a recipient of Community Development Block Grant funds, the city annually completes a consolidated annual performance and evaluation report known as the CAPER. The report talks about the expenditures for the prior program period. This current CAPER covers program year 2019 for the period August 1st, 2019 through July 31st, 2020, which is the city's assigned program period. During that time, the city spent $302,234 on CDBG eligible activities, which included almost 60% on housing activities that benefited 11 low to moderate income owner occupied households. 24% on 3 public facility and improvement projects, an additional 9% on 2 public service activities, and almost 8% on grant administration and fair housing activities.
Okay, is there anybody from the public has comment on?
No.
Oh, just lost me.
No, you're still there. There's no one from the public.
All right. With that, the first public hearing is adjourned. We'll open up the next public hearing. Would the clerk please call the roll for that one?
Mr. Amrine?
Here.
Mr. De Leon?
Here.
Mr. Ferrara?
Here.
Mr. Kuhar?
Here.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Here.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish?
Here.
Mr. Sidoti?
Here.
Mr. Turner?
Here.
And Ms. Wallach is here.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Bridget, I take it you're going to talk about this one too also?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mayor. This is the first of 2 required public hearings for additional funding appropriation the city received as a community development block grant entitlement community through the CARES Act. This is technically considered round 3 funding, although it is the second round of funding that's been committed to the city. The public hearing is to present comments or accept comments and present ideas on the expenditure of these CARES Act funding. The city anticipates using it for the same types of activities it funded with its round 1 CARES Act funding. The $162,666 will be used to assist low to moderate income households adversely affected by COVID, as well as small business grant assistance to those that have also been adversely affected by the pandemic.
Once again, is there any questions from the audience? Seeing none, the second public hearing is adjourned. We'll go into Board of Control, Mr. Ferrer, Mr. Delone, and Mr. Ruler.
Thank you, Mayor. So if I'm reading my handouts correctly, Garrett, Mike, we've got minutes from October 7th, so 2 weeks ago, and I need a motion for those minutes.
Move to approve them.
Second. Okay. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oops.
Any opposed? Any opposed? No. All right, then the minutes carry. And then for tonight, we have 3 items that we're asking for approval.
All 3.
I have a question first.
Okay.
These are repairs to what the police department, the grasses and the lighting in the police department, correct?
Around the property.
Was it done once already?
No, there were sections.
Is this what just finishing it?
It's a little both, Mike. Some of
Okay.
it continued work, and then, well, Melanie, I see she's clicking on and off for her mute. So in case I'm misspeaking, Melanie, you want to jump in?
If I'm not mistaken, this should be the stuff also for the pocket park in the back.
Okay. Okay. No. Okay. All right. I was just curious because it just didn't click with me. All right.
Okay.
I'm
So,
fine with it then. Yes, I'm good.
all right. Did we already had a motion?
I'll second it. I'll second.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, then the 3 items for tonight also carry, and we are standing adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. I will call the regular council meeting of October the 21st to order. Will the clerk please read the roll?
Mr. Amrine,
Here.
Mr. De Leon,
Here.
Mr. Ferrara,
Here.
Mr. Kuhar,
Here.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Here.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish,
Here.
Mr. Stidoti,
Here.
Mr. Turner,
Here.
and Ms. Wallach.
Here.
Okay, we have opening remarks and pledge allegiance by Mr. DeLeo.
I don't have any remarks, but please stand for the pledge, please. See right here. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag of the United
United States of America,
and to the republic
Stands
which stands
one nation
under
under
God,
God,
Indivisible,
with liberty and justice.
justice for all.
I think we got it all.
Good job, Mike. I need a motion for approval of the minutes.
I would like to, I'll do that. I'd like to approve the minutes of the regular council meeting on September 16th, 2020, the special city council meeting on October 7th, 2020, and the Democracy Day public hearing on October 7th, 2020.
Second.
Second by John. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Opposed, and one abstention. All right, moving forward into community communications. Is there anybody from the public? Amy?
There is. Our one and only guest this evening is Miss Samantha Weiler, and she is
Oh, there she is.
logged on. And Samantha, you'll just need to unmute yourself before you speak and be sure you give your name and address for the record.
Just a minute, I gotta read my statement.
Oh, that's right.
Wasn't prepared. While the law does not require council to provide time for the public to comment, we have historically invited the public to make comment, and we appreciate their input. This is a time when residents and all others can comment on matters that concern them. However, if we will not engage in any debate, and as president of council, I reserve the right to end any public comment that is disruptive, embarrassing, harassing, or otherwise objectionable. We ask that you give your name, your address, and according to the statutes of our standing rules, we'll give you 3 minutes to speak. So go ahead.
Hi, my name is Samantha, and I live at 1-800 Rhodes Road in Kent, Ohio. I live in a densely packed apartment building near Kent State University. The proceeding for the National Academy of Science, PNAS, found that requiring people to wear masks in epicenters of new coronavirus cases may have prevented tens of thousands of infections from COVID. The people who live in my apartment building are a mixture of university students, elderly, and people with disabilities. Despite having signs up that masks are required in the building, the majority of residents refuse to follow these guidelines. After Portage County went up to a level 3 COVID red zone, the City Council of Kent passed an ordinance to issue civil fines to people participating in unauthorized gatherings of over 10 people. While I greatly appreciate what the City of Kent has done to control the spread of the virus, more and more research is coming out to conclude that airborne transmission may be the dominant route of infection from the new coronavirus. I am here today to ask that the City Council of Kent please consider passing a similar ordinance to the one they passed, issuing civil fines to unauthorized gatherings, to also include issuing civil fines to adults who refuse to wear masks in public spaces. This isn't about wanting to fine people, but as someone who has to walk through hallways and take elevators every day that people are crowding into without masks, this is about public safety. I am a graduate student with a disability who at some point during the winter break needs to go home to New York and see my doctors, or I risk losing the medication I need to be healthy. Unfortunately, Ohio was placed on the New York State quarantine list, meaning when I go home, I will have to quarantine at home for 2 weeks before I can go anywhere in the state, including to see my doctors. I am scared to go back home and quarantine with my aging parents who have their own medical issues due to the careless disregard of others who live in the same apartment building, who made it clear that they won't listen to signs or public health experts. Mandating masks without any consequence for violations has not worked. All I want is to stay safe, keep my parents safe, and keep those in our community who are more vulnerable safe.
Okay, thank you, Samantha.
Thanks, Samantha.
Correct me if I'm wrong, your statements was emailed to the clerk?
Yes, I
also?
have the statement. Yes.
All right, I thought so. All right, thank you. Is there further, Amy?
No, that's it.
All right, written communications, please.
A video from Judge Doherty regarding re-election was received and forwarded to council on September 23rd, 2020. The Board of Health minutes and statistical report from September 8th, 2020, and the agenda for October 13th was received on October 8th. Parks and Recreation Board packet for October 15th meeting was received on October 8th, 2020. The Planning Commission agenda and staff report for October 20th was received on October 12th. The Standing Rock meeting minutes of September 10th and the agenda for October 8th were received on October 1st. And then communication received after the agenda was published. I received the Civil Service Commission meeting agenda for October 19th. I received that on October the 15th. I received a letter from Kent Interfaith Alliance, KIFA, for racial reconciliation and justice on October 16th, and I forwarded that letter to council. I received the Planning Commission agenda and staff report for the October 27th meeting, and I received that on October 19th. And then I also received a letter from Mr. Christopher Myers regarding picketing in the city and loud music from cars, and I received that on October 21st, 2020.
Okay, thank you. City Manager's report, Mr. Amrine.
Yeah, I would like to move items 1 through 9 on the city manager's report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Gwen. Is there any discussion? Robin, you lit up. You have something to say?
No.
All right. All in favor of the city manager's report, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Ben, we can hear you today.
Who, me?
Ben.
Oh, all right. Okay, that passes. Going into standing committees, committee of the whole, I need a motion for the minutes of the October 7th meeting.
I move the committee meeting minutes of October 7th, 2020.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by John. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. There's no,
Abstain.
pardon?
Abstain.
All right. There's no action recommended. Moving into community development, Mr. Kuhar,
We have nothing.
you're right.
Nothing.
No committee report nor action. Health and public safety, Mr. Amrine.
Yeah, I'd like to move the committee meeting minutes from October 7th, 2020.
Second.
Second by Mike. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. No abstentions?
Abstain.
Oh, one abstention. I got you, Tracy. How about the action?
I think the action's already been,
Right.
has it not?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you're right. You're correct. All right, that's it for health and public safety, streets and sidewalks, Mr. Sidoti.
We have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
And I just went blank again. All right, there's no action. Land use, Mr. Ferrer, I need a motion.
Yeah, I moved the approval of the committee minutes October 7th, as well as.
Split those, please.
Mhm.
Okay, split that.
Second.
Got it?
Second, yes.
Nope, we lost Garrett.
No, she wanted them separated.
So I seconded it.
Right, so we have to approve the committee, we need to approve the committee meeting minutes of October 7th.
There's a second?
Second.
It was already,
Second by Mike. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Abstain.
One abstention.
okay, then we have the action to authorize the vacation of the unused street right away in one draft.
Is there a second? Second by Mike.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that's it under land use.
Oh,
We have to
an
read one
ordinance.
draft. Would the clerk please read draft number 2020-98, title only?
Draft number 2020-98, an ordinance authorizing the vacation of a parcel of city-owned land known as a paper street and known as Whitewood Drive off of Adrian Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by Heidi. Please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. Amrine,
Yes.
Mr. De Leon,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
yes,
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
and Ms. Wallach.
Yes.
Motion
Move
passes.
adoption.
Second.
Mr. Mayor,
Second,
where are you
it was
getting,
made by Roger and Gwen seconded. Is there any discussion on this?
yeah, where are you getting 2020-98? I've only got 2099.
Mine says 28-98.
Yeah.
Mine too.
I didn't second that. I think it was someone else.
It was me.
Well, your light went up, so you know, okay. I go more by the lights than anything else. All right, we'll correct it to Heidi
Thank you.
if it's that important.
Thank you, Gwen.
I got it.
It's accurate.
John, are you satisfied yet? Did you find it?
Okay, I'm reading, it's 2099. It's an ordinance authorized city to the 1,195,000.
No.
Okay, it's on the page before that on your,
It's under it's under land use, John.
Okay. I got it.
All right, is there any discussion about adoption? Please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Amrine,
Yes.
Mr. De Leon,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
yes,
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
and Ms. Wallach.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2020-98 has passed.
Okay, thank you. That's it for land use. Finance committee, Mr. Daniel.
I'd like to move the committee meeting minutes for approval from October 7th, 2020.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by John. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign,
Abstain.
and one abstention.
There's 4 recommendations. Anybody want them split or anything? If not, I'll move all 4 recommendations.
Second.
Second.
Second by Roger. Is there any discussion on the actions? Seeing none, all in favor of the actions signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, moving forward.
5 drafts.
Would the clerk read draft number 2020-99 in title only?
Draft number 2020-99, an ordinance authorizing the city of Kent to submit 2 funding applications totaling $1,195,000 and to execute the subsequent agreements with the Ohio Public Works Commission, OPWC, and to accept the grant if awarded with the corresponding appropriation of funds and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second, please call the roll for suspension.
Mr. De Leon,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
yes,
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
and Mr. Amrine.
Yes.
Okay, suspension passed.
Move. Second.
Who moved it? Jack?
John.
John
John?
Kuhar.
All right. And Mike seconded it. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. De Leon,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
yes,
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer Bish,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrine.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2020-99 has passed.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2020-100 in title only?
Draft number 2020-100, an ordinance authorizing the City of Kent to submit a grant funding application request for $30,000 to the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency, OEPA, and to accept the grant if awarded and execute the subsequent grant agreement with corresponding appropriation of funds for the Level 2 electric vehicle charging station grant and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Second.
Got it?
Did you get that name? I think it was Mike and John.
And Garrett.
Please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrine,
Yes.
and Mr. De Leon.
Yes.
Okay, suspension passed.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Roger. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrine,
Yes.
and Mr. De Leon.
Yes.
Okay, suspension is passed.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Jack. Is there any discussion on this?
Oh, wait,
I thought.
I'm sorry, that was adoption.
That was
Sorry.
adoption,
I thought so.
Got ahead of myself.
You can read it past then, huh?
Yeah, ordinance 2020-100 is passed.
All right, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2020-101 in title only?
Draft number 2020-101, an ordinance authorizing the sale at public auction of surplus property not needed for municipal purposes by a live auctioneer pursuant to section 721.15 of the Ohio Revised Code and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by Gwen. Please call the roll for suspension.
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrine,
Yes.
Mr. De Leon,
Yes.
and Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second.
Second by Heidi. Any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrine,
Yes.
Mr. De Leon,
Yes.
and Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2020-101 is passed.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2020-102 in title only?
Draft 2020-102, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2019-139, the current appropriation ordinance passed December 18th, 2019, so as to adjust appropriations, transfers, and advances from the various funds of the City of Kent to individual accounts for the current expenses of the city for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Second by Mike. Please call the roll on suspension.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrine,
Yes.
Mr. De Leon,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
and Mr. Kuhar.
Yes.
Need a motion for adoption.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Roger. Is there any comment on discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrine,
Yes.
Mr. De Leon,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
and Mr. Kuhar.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2020-102 has passed.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2020-103 in title only.
Draft number 2020-103, an ordinance accepting and authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute right-of-way agreements for the purpose of attaining temporary and permanent easements for the construction of the Southwest Sanitary Pump Station project and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by Heidi. Please call the roll on suspension.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
I see
Mr.
Tracy's.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. De Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
And Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Need a motion for adoption.
Move adoption.
John? Who's the
Second.
Second by Roger. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance?
Hmm.
Nothing said. Please call the roll for adoption.
Ms. Schaefer Bish?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrine?
Yes.
Mr. De Leon?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar? Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2020-103 has passed.
Okay. That's it. Moving in unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business? Mr. Sidoti.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I realize that we are really under the gun with COVID, and I mean, there's a lot of work being done, and I don't want to put any undue stress onto our administration and their staff because I realize what's going on. But I think I love reading Nick's police chief reports every Friday. I don't think that's, I just love it. It's great, but I don't necessarily think we need something like that for the city hall. But it would really be nice to know and have some information sent to us to keep us abreast so that when people ask us, we can kind of let them know where we're at. And I realize that gets a little messy because we're sometimes at the mercy of our architects and mercy of the process. But it would be nice if we could get something that we would have so when people say, hey, what's going on with the city hall, we could be at least updated a little bit. I don't think it's necessary to have it weekly, but I think it wouldn't be too much to ask if we could get a monthly report, or it doesn't have to be a whole page either. It could be, where are we in the process? What does our timeline look like? What are we projecting out? Just something like that. It would be helpful, Melanie. I don't want to put more work on you though, because I know you're swamped. But I think that fits unfinished business, doesn't it, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Melanie lit up here. Do you have some insight here, Melanie, or what?
No, we're just in the process of, I'm doing a preliminary review with the building department right now. So we're trying to get through that. We'll be heading into planning here within the next month or two. I'm kind of waiting for the building to get back in case there were any big changes there, but we're kind of moving on target. I can say that the old police building, we started asbestos removal this week. So we are also moving forward with seeing that getting ready to come down as well. So, but I have no problem with that. I can do something up for the next meeting, and then maybe, depending on how fast we're moving through it, maybe once a month or once every other week.
See, I think that's great, Melanie. When you've made a decision to start asbestos moving, boy, that'd be great. If just a one line out to us as an email, that way we could, when someone asks, we can say, yeah, we're already starting with asbestos removal and we're moving with the process. Just something to give them, because we're all, I feel, I don't know about the rest of the council members, but when people ask, I kind of have to hesitate and say, well, we're working on it, but it would be nice to give some facts out, just like when Nick sends us almost too much. Nick, I'm busting your chops a little bit, but the fact of the matter is we have a lot that we can share with the community, where it would be nice when they ask about the city hall if we had some specifics.
I kind of agree with you. I know more than I knew yesterday now.
Well, there you go, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I got a
Thank you,
question
Bonnie.
about 2 o'clock today.
What's that, John?
I say, I got a question about what you're talking about at about 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Let's let's get that information moving then. Is there any more unfinished business? Let's move down. Is there any new business? Tracy, you voted.
I did. Every day, as many times as I can.
Well, you're one of
I
those.
better not let you get that out because otherwise we'll have some poll observers here.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, things are going really badly with this COVID-19 thing, and I kind of agree with Samantha. What is that her name? Samantha?
Yes.
I should know. She's a grad student. She's one of my assistants, and I would like to have a discussion in the appropriate committee about whether we should mandate mask wearing, because places I go, the students are not wearing their masks, even though they should be wearing their masks, and we're in red now, aren't we still in Portage County? Because of the students coming back. That's the main reason why we're in red now.
You
And
want to make that a motion?
yes, I'd like to, so I'm going to make a motion now. I'm explaining my motion, because once I make it, then I can't talk anymore.
All right, who's going to second it? Heidi, you're
I'll
second.
second it. I'll second it.
All right, go back to Tracy. Any more comment?
Things are getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, people are suffering from COVID fatigue, and they're starting to be lax with their safeguards and everything. And I'm not going to get that. I don't want to get it. And it's tough. You know, you can't go anywhere if there's students not wearing masks, and that's all.
Okay, Heidi, do you have more comment?
I do. I'm a little concerned about waiting until the next meeting to talk about this. I think it would be helpful to also refer to community development, you know, to talk to the landlords in this particular location, to make sure that they know that that is the law. I mean, we have a mask mandate. We do not have a big fine associated with it yet. We do, and I think it's incumbent upon them to enforce it, just like the grocery stores are doing and the bars are doing. And I think that I've seen a lot of compliance in other places of business, and we need to think of the rental housing as a place of business.
Okay, Mike, you had your hand up. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done, Heidi.
Well, I just want to say I support this motion, but I do think that we can't afford to wait until we have that discussion about a penalty for this. I think to reach out and do something in the meantime.
Okay, Mike, you had your hand up.
Don't we have a mandate from the governor that?
Yes, we
we're
do.
supposed to do this? So what good would it be to have one for the city and the governor? I don't
We do
understand.
have one, but we do have one.
No, we have a mandate.
There's
I might, Mayor.
Mike has the floor.
Well, that's just an open-ended question, I guess. You know, how many times are you gonna put a mandate in place unless we put some teeth in it and start fining people? I don't want to do that. You know, you can't.
Okay, Roger, you had your hand up, then Robin, you're next.
Well, in July, we passed a mandate, but as you recall, we didn't pass any enforcement for that. And I can't remember what the legislation said exactly, but as I recall, we did pass a mandate that we expected everyone to wear a mask in the city of Kent. So we've done the mandate already. So now the question goes back to the conversation that John and I had 2 weeks ago, when we can pass all the mandates we want, but if there isn't enforcement and if people aren't following the mandate, then the question is does it do any good? And I think that's the first issue. And I would say the second issue is that in a place like where she's talking about, the person that needs to be held accountable is the management of the place. Just like I would be held accountable for the 4 people in one of my duplexes to make sure that they're complying. It's that manager that needs to be held. If they have signs up there and they're not enforcing it, it's not the city to go into, in my opinion, to go into that. So I'm not sure what the motion was, but I thought I heard the motion was for a mandate. I think we already have a mandate.
Oh, that's not the motion.
No.
Back up. Roger, do you want Amy to read the motion? Yeah. Amy, read the motion again.
The motion was to move to committee a discussion on mandating Oh, it was on mandating masks.
It was supposed to be fines for masks.
Okay.
For not wearing masks.
That's what I seconded.
All right, Roger, you
Got it.
finished? All right,
Yeah.
Robin, you're up.
Yeah, I have to concur with Roger. I think the reality is and Mike, we've done the mask. I mean, the issue now is enforcement capability. And I think it's more than enforcement, it's enforcement capability. We're going to have to, if we're going to mandate that owners of property become responsible for the enforcement, that's going to be a little haphazard. I would also
we're just talking about
like,
the motion. I mean, we're not talking about the solution. We're just talking about whether we're going to talk about this.
well, here's what I'm saying, Tracy. I'm not knocking what you're talking about. What I'm saying is it's redundant. We've done a mask situation that's been addressed. The issue now, and Roger and Mike had, and I guess John to a degree, have had this discussion before. It's enforcement now. Whether or not we have the ability. Here's what I'm saying. Yeah, here's what I'm saying. That in fact, it ought to be put in discussion. We ought to probably be discussing this with Hope and with Joan as to our ability to be able to do an enforcement aspect now. Whether or not we have the capability, first off, to mandate that people who are owners of property and businesses be then responsible to ensure that there is compliance on their properties. The other issue and what our liabilities are, what our abilities are to require that of them. Then there's going to be, from our aspect as well, what, who we're going to have out trying to do this and require this additional enforcement capability. That was our big issue before, and that's what we have to talk with Joan about. We may have to be looking at our police department again, and I know that's problematic for them, but whether or not this is going to be criminal or it's going to be civil, how we're going to do this, how we're going to implement it. But we move beyond the issue of masks. What we have to do now is look at the enforcement. We knew that eventually was going to come up anyway, the enforcement aspect of this. And now we've kind of reached that point.
Are you done, Robin?
Yes, thank you.
I think you just had the committee meeting. Hey, John, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I think Robin said one important thing, and I think that you need to talk with Hope about this, because I think it's already been decided that the enforcement issue is kind of a mute issue, even though stupidity is. But, and then, totally getting ridiculous. Now you want to charge the landlords for one more thing that goes on. And so we're supposed to have a police department running through the houses to make sure people zip up their face masks and stuff like that. You can't legislate stupidity. I've said that a dozen times, and I'll say it 13, I guess.
All right, Tracy, you had more comment?
Heidi did.
Well, okay, you kept interrupting Robin. I thought you did. Heidi?
Yeah, well, to respond to John, I think it all hinges on what the definition of a public place is. And if you're defining a rental property as a private place, then maybe you have a point. But, we see that as a place of business. And I think that's something that we need to talk about within our committee with Hope, get her feedback on that. But, when you're talking about a large apartment complex and people going up and down the elevator, and in the hallways, maybe we are talking about a public place. Maybe my workplace is a public place. I'm glad that we're doing, the mask mandate at my workplace. But, that's something that we're talking about. We have made a mask mandate. Maybe we need to have a clarification on what is a public place and what is not a public place.
All right, somebody else had their, okay, Tracy, go.
Yeah, the motion was, the correct motion was that we were going to discuss whether to enforce with some sort of a penalty the mask mandate that we already have. And we were going to put it into discussion to discuss it. So we were going to talk to Hope. We were going to talk to Joan. We're going to talk to people. That it was just a discussion of it. It's not, we're not deciding right now. The motion was just to put it into discussion to see what we can do about it, because there are problems that are arising that are behavior problems, and they're bad, because this is a horrible pandemic. We're in a pandemic here. This is a serious situation. So we have to have a serious discussion about it. And I agree with Heidi. It shouldn't be waiting for another 2 weeks. Maybe we can have a special committee meeting to discuss it if everybody would be agreeable to that also. But this right now is just getting it into committee so we can talk about it, see what our options are. We're already penalizing people for grouping more than 10 people, correct? Aren't we giving them fines if they're in groups of more than 10 people?
Not yet.
An apartment building is a group of more than 10 people.
All right, Dave, were you trying to get my attention?
Well, I know we're kind of in the middle, knee deep in this, and I don't know if I'm technically following protocol by speaking in the middle of a motion, but it just seems so relevant. We've had multiple meetings, Kent State, the city, particularly the health department, obviously, with the property management companies. There's another one, I think, on Monday, where basically they were read the riot act in many respects. I mean, given the support they need, posters, Joan goes up there all the time. So I don't want you to think that those are being ignored. She's in there. And I do think one of the things that we talked about, Hope has gone through this pretty thoroughly. And really, some of the points that you're hitting on are legal matters, right? What's your civil liberty to not have to wear a mask if you can't be told to be wearing a mask and stuff like that. Hope felt like, and that's what she presented at the last meeting, she gave you about as aggressive as she felt comfortable legally that you could go, which was the citation process and the gatherings. One thing, I will say this, we talked about this, we thought that was pretty important. And particularly we wanted that in place before Halloween, that citation capability, but it didn't pass an emergency. So that has to wait 30 days and we have another 15 days or so. One thing you could do would help. We checked with Hope, you could reconsider that motion. And if there's enough votes to have the emergency, that citation ability of 10 or more people can go into effect tomorrow. To me, that's a really...
We missed that. We missed what you said.
I'm sorry, Tracy.
We missed what you said, or I missed what you said.
So you weren't at the meeting, but they passed the citation ordinance allowing Joan to be able to actually have $500 penalty, $1,000 penalty for multiple, and it can include, the language specifically offered the ability to include the property owner if it turns out the property owner is culpable. I mean, no one's going after the property owner, but if the property owner is purposely, telling his people not to wear masks, he or she could be written up too. So I don't want to misrepresent it, but that was ready to roll. But because we didn't have 7 votes, it doesn't go in effect till early November. One of the things that, if you're anxious, I hear you say you're anxious to do something, you could reconsider that vote and see if you have enough to make it go past an emergency. So it can be in effect this weekend and heading into Halloween weekend, which quite candidly is one of our bigger concerns.
I realize I'm on order talking too, but let's turn down Tracy's motion. Don't get a heart attack, Tracy. And let's go back and reconsider Ordinance 2020-97. And that's the one we passed, I don't know the date, but it didn't pass for emergency, and that's what's holding us up. So if you guys want to do that, that's fine.
We have to have a special council meeting though.
We're in council meeting right now.
Doesn't have to be on the agenda? Oh, okay.
You're gonna reconsider something. So
Okay.
right now, unless Tracy, you want to withdraw your motion, I'm gonna ask, we call for the vote. All right, what?
Mayor,
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote. All in favor of the motion on the floor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
2. Opposed, I think it's failing. Now, somebody want to make a motion to reconsider
I
this?
think, hey, Jerry, I think that Hope's trying to say something.
Oh, I don't see Hope lighting up. All right, go ahead, Hope.
can you hear me?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Barely.
Okay, for a motion to reconsider the mass gathering ordinance, a person who voted in favor for it, which, you know, if you voted in favor for it, they have to make the motion to reconsider.
Correct.
I move to reconsider the motion for the mass gathering ordinance.
We
I'll
have to back
second it.
up first of all.
Heidi, stipulate ordinance number 2020-97, will you please?
Yes, ordinance number 2097 to affix civil penalties to mass gatherings during the.
All right. Roger, you second that?
Yes.
All right, going back to Heidi, is there any discussion? Roger, any discussion?
No.
Anybody else have discussion? Mr. Kuhar.
Yeah, I'll oppose it as I did the first time. I think, but not by altering this more than you had it before. And if you read the original motion, it excludes not everybody in Kent except the fraternity houses. But I think what you're doing is you're going to have that constitutional law firm out of Columbus, probably before the ink gets dry, filing a lawsuit against the city.
All right, you done, John?
Yep.
Mr. Ferrari, you had your hand up?
I'm not quite sure I understand the procedure of what we're doing. So
You want Hope to restate it?
yeah, please.
Hope, will you restate what we're doing for Mr. Ferrera?
Yes. Garrett, when an ordinance passes where some people vote yes and some people vote no, at the next regularly scheduled meeting, any member who voted in favor of passing whatever passed is allowed to ask for a reconsideration of the ordinance. And when they do that, and if the reconsideration passes, then you're allowed to debate the issue again and discuss it and re-vote on it if you choose.
I see.
Okay.
Thank you, Hope. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, is there any more discussion on this? Mr. Ferrera?
Yeah. It sounds like procedural chicanery here. And, if we want to have a committee meeting about it, that we should. We discussed this last committee and made a motion that passed, which I was opposed to, as well as Mr. Kuhar. We're rehashing the thing. It sounds like it feels like a knee-jerk reaction. And I don't like it.
Mr. Sidoti.
Well, if I understood this correctly, that since we didn't pass it under an emergency the last time, that it's going to come back up for a vote at our next regular meeting. Now,
No.
Automatic.
it's automatic. So in other words, it's going to automatically go into law anyway in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
November 7th.
November 7th. So all this is doing, it's automatically going to go into law. All we're doing is trying to help out the administration in getting it on the books before Halloween. That's how I see it. We don't. And it's gonna go into law anyway. It's gonna be an ordinance anyway.
Mike, you had your
Mr.
finger
Mayor,
up?
I think we're just voting again because there was an absentee last time, and that person who was absent will give us a seventh vote to put this into motion.
yeah,
You're
What is,
correct.
Garrett?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Turner.
yeah. Yeah, I don't, you know, and I don't know if Garrett meant to say chicanery. I don't believe it's that. It's the rule. It's the normal process that we're using. Might not be something that we employ often, but it's available to us to do that if we want to expedite the process. We feel, I think there are probably 7 votes that will pass this that indicate we feel that we need to act quickly because this is a public health emergency. And so I would hope that there would be 7 votes to pass this so that we can employ this and get this kind of put this as a tool in our toolbox that will allow us to safeguard the general health and well-being of the public here in the city of Kent. I'm hopeful that we'll go on and pass that tonight. And then we will also then probably be looking at the possibility. I don't necessarily see that, to be honest with you, that Tracy really needed to rescind her motion because I don't think they're the same. That we probably do need to put that back into committee for further discussion on how we're going to employ the aspect of enforcement. But that's as far as I think I need to go on this. So, thank you, Mayor.
All right. Anybody? Oh, Heidi, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I just want to say that I am disappointed. I thought we actually did pass and it was in effect. That's why I jumped in there, because right after that last meeting, 2 days later, there were 3 parties in my neighborhood on all 3 sides of where I live, all 3 of which probably could have violated the ordinance had we had one. And I think that with Halloween coming up, that we really do need to step in and do some education, but also have some teeth to this, because for some people, it's not going to matter unless there is a penalty.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Oh.
Since we're all like breaking the rules here, you know,
Oh, really?
under Robert's rules of meetings, a simple 2/3 votes will pass an issue by emergency. Your council rules require 3/4 vote. So if we would have been using Robert's rules, it would have passed by an emergency, but council rules are a little bit more stringent. And I guess as a side note, we may want to revisit that, because I think 2/3, a supermajority is appropriate. And you guys have a super majority.
Dave, I see your fingers up in the air.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. And I just wanted to follow up kind of what Heidi just said there, that she talked about the education. And please know, I think tomorrow even, but I know there's a couple of walkarounds between the Kent State folks, our folks, Joan, that are going to be going on, knocking on those doors saying, hey, everybody, please be safe. And so that is happening ongoing. I don't want you to think that that's not happening. And in a way, the timing of this is really good. If indeed, like I said, I think tomorrow, if they can make the statement, hey, it's actually in law right now, this citation issue. So that kind of helps, puts a little teeth, whoever said that, it puts a little teeth behind the mandate.
Yeah.
Is there further? If not, we're going to take the vote.
Mr.
Ferrer.
Thank you. So we discussed it in committee 2 weeks ago, right? And made the
Right.
motion. And then
Right.
are you telling, did it not pass with emergency today?
No,
We had a special committee meeting following, or a special council meeting following the committee meetings
On
when
the
you voted
7th.
on it.
So why can't, okay, so we are in effect now saying, instead of a second reading, we're gonna say, we're gonna try to pass it with emergency.
Right.
that's my understanding.
This is a reconsideration vote.
Okay.
All right, are we
What's the
done here?
What's the difference between a reconsideration vote versus, a second reading or trying to
Already
pass with an
passed.
emergency on a subsequent vote?
Well, because there'll be a,
The motion was to reconsider, Garrett.
I get that, but that doesn't answer my question, Mr. Mayor.
well,
I
I
can tell you what the motion was.
I can
What
answer.
motion was it to have a
can
second
answer
reading?
too.
Okay.
Mike,
Well,
Mike,
Garrett,
wait, whoa.
Whoa, whoa.
Go, you had your light on.
Okay, because when you suspend the rules, when you vote, you are suspending the 3 readings.
Right?
And
Right.
when that passes, then you can vote on it. And that's what you did last week. A
weeks ago.
reconsideration is when something has already passed, regardless of whether there is 1, 2, or 3 readings, it has passed, or maybe it has failed. And someone who has voted on the prevailing side says, hey, I would like to reconsider this. I've maybe changed my mind, or I'd like to talk about it more. And that's what we're doing tonight.
And we're reconsidering it so that we can reevaluate and change the ordinance to mandate fines or masks in public places like the woman spoke about.
No.
Okay.
No.
You know
No.
what? Robin was correct. When Robin said that Tracy did not need to withdraw her motion, this has nothing to do
I
with
didn't.
masks.
She didn't
This
withdraw.
has,
I
okay,
did withdraw.
okay. This has everything to do with mass gatherings. It did not pass by an emergency. Some of you during this reconsideration may decide that you didn't like the ordinance at all, period, and you want to vote against it. The administration is asking for the emergency passage, but we're talking about the whole ordinance. I know it's
may
confusing.
I?
Wait a minute. Hope, are you finished?
Yes, I am, sir. Thank you.
I'm just
Mayor.
looking at lights light up here. Roger, you're lit up.
Hope, if I understand it correctly, we're going to vote on reconsideration, and then someone's going to make the motion to pass that ordinance with an emergency, get a second, and we're going to vote on it again as an emergency. So actually, we're going to hold 2 votes tonight. The first vote is just to reconsider it. The second, if I understand that correctly, right, Hope?
Actually, Roger, it's going to be, yes, it's going to be 2 votes, one to reconsider, and then the second to pass it.
Okay, that's what I thought, and I think that's what Mr. Farrar was asking. What were you actually doing?
Yes, and if there are 7 votes, then it passes by a majority, and it will go into effect immediately. If it doesn't, it won't.
John, are you done, Roger?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Robin?
Yeah, just and I'll let it go because I think it probably beat it to death. But what Garrett was saying at one time was he was asking, what is the real difference in us taking a vote on something? What's the distinction? And the distinction is we actually have a chance to implement this tonight. We'll take a vote. It's been reconsidered. We've done the reconsideration, then we actually will vote on that with the emergency, which means this will be implemented tonight, as opposed to having to do it in a couple of weeks or whatever.
You're correct, Robin.
And I think, yeah. So that's the big deal. We're going to try to do this tonight.
Correct.
All right, John, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I think no matter what we do tonight, that it's been written with a poison pen by all the violations of Robert's rules and council's rules, and probably legally would not count anyhow.
I'm not so sure of that.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, we'll leave that to hope.
Are we still in a motion?
Yeah. The motion is, does anybody else got any more comment on reconsidering?
So
If not, I'm going to call the vote for reconsidering. All in favor signify by, or do we need a roll call?
We need a roll call.
All right, for reconsidering. Go ahead, Amy.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrine,
Yes.
Mr. De Leon,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
He's muted.
Muted.
Yes, sorry.
Mr. Kuhar,
I'll stick with my no.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish.
Yes.
That's passed.
All right, the vote for reconsidering passed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Okay. Now I need a motion to pass it.
I'd like to move,
With suspension,
oh, yeah, suspension first, right?
with emergency.
Do we have to do that, Hope?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Suspension,
okay.
move suspension.
Second.
Second.
All right. Call the roll for suspension.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrine,
Yes.
Mr. De Leon,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar,
No.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer-Bish.
Yes.
Okay, suspension is passed.
All right, we need a motion to adopt it.
Move
to
adoption.
Wait a minute. Tracy, you made the motion. Who seconded it?
Second.
Second by Mike. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrine,
Yes.
Mr. De Leon,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
No.
Mr. Kuhar,
No.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
and Ms. Schaefer-Bish.
Yes.
Okay, the ordinance is passed with emergency.
Okay, now we need a motion to pass it, right?
No,
We just did that.
We're good.
I just want to make sure Hope is satisfied because she's going to have to speak to John about it tomorrow.
We need a motion to pass
I am.
Tracy.
We already did that.
Tracy, go ahead.
We already did that. It failed.
We didn't vote on it, did we?
Yeah.
Failed.
It
Failed.
failed.
Oh, that's right.
All right. I got to tell you people something. I don't know if you watch the news or not, but the cities like Cleveland that have mandates to fine for masks, they're not supporting it. Nobody's been fined yet. They did a piece on one of the investigators or something, and they went to City Hall to look at the records, and nobody's ever been fined. You know, so there's just another thought. All right, is there any more new business? The new business kind of got old there for a while. All right, council member comments, anything? Nobody? Okay, under the mayor's report, just remember it's trick or treating this Sunday from 3 to 5. If you want to participate, participate. If you don't, don't. And just like everything else, use your common sense.
What is that? I didn't hear.
John?
What's going on?
Trick or treating is Sunday.
Okay.
All right, 3 to 5. That's all I got. Everybody have a good one. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
If I might, before we go, hello?
Okay, Robin.
You're on, Robin.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. Tracy's motion, which failed, if you go back and look at it, was different than the motion that she had suggested later on. That motion was about masks. The original motion was. The motion that she spoke to a little later, which was not the same motion, was the one about enforcement. I actually believe if she uses the language of the second motion or the motion that she thought she was promoting, that we could actually vote on that. And it's not the same motion that I think she really would be supportive of doing if in fact she came back and said we will direct this for the enforcement aspect, because that was not the original motion, the motion that was voted on tonight. But, you know, it's getting late in the day, and maybe next time.
I thought we adjourned already.
Good.
I didn't know we adjourned, but
No, we did.
that's fine.
Point well taken. Everybody have a safe weekend.
No,
See
you
you later.
don't have an exec session?
Yeah,
No.
don't we have an exec session?
For
No?
what?
Well, we were told,
That's at the next meeting.
Yeah, that was probably my fault. I was thinking ahead. And that's why I was thinking ahead. I said it was tonight, but it's actually 2 weeks from now. Sorry about that.
You have to reconsider that?
yeah. Is that a motion? Is that a motion, Mr. Ferrara?